Have you ever come across the term DEI hire on social media or in your professional circles? What thoughts or feelings does it evoke for you? Well, rise and shine leaders. This is Glen, Guyton, keynote speaker and workplace trainer. It's time for our executive coffee break. I've got my beverage in hand and I hope you have yours too. They say you can't choose your family, but you can choose your workplace culture and your beverage, of course. Leadership matters, so you might as well get good at it. Well, today I want to talk about the term DEI hire. Now, I spent some time on the toxic media, social media site X, formerly known as Twitter. Of course, nothing good is going on over there, but I did check it out. I'm sorry I get tempted from time to time. But after the recent collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, the term DEI hire keeps popping up. And it's mostly related to the mayor of Baltimore, Brandon Scott. He's a black man who was elected to a city with the population, I think, of about 62% black population. And some people are claiming that he is a DEI hire, and they're using it in the pejorative. Now, of course, this guy was elected with 70% of the vote, and mayors are not hires, but that's the term that's being used. And so really it's being used in a derogatory racialized way. It's used as a racial slur. I think in place of maybe other racial slurs. And I scrolled a little bit on the Twitter, on the X, and people are saying that DEI stands for didn't earn it. Someone even says deport every illegal, and just a number of other nonsensical explanations of the term DE&I. If you are a leader and you're watching this, you know that DEI stands for diversity, equity, inclusion. And using inclusive terms as a pejorative has a long history. I remember when people used to talk about the term affirmative action and called people affirmative action hires, saying that they weren't skilled, they weren't qualified to do the work that they were hired to do. And so now we have a pejoration of the term DE&I. So what do you do about it? How do you address that? First of all, I think it's your job as a leader to address these things, particularly in your workplace. You can't worry about what's going on Twitter and social media, but you need to ensure that when you hire people, that they are strategic hires, that they are hired to accomplish the mission of the organization. And part of accomplishing your organizational goals or achieving your mission may involve having a diverse, equitable, and inclusive workplace. That's a great strategy. The data supports that. That you aren't doing these things, you aren't hiring people from diverse backgrounds and from diverse skills just because you want to sing Kumbaya and you love these people. No, it's helping you accomplish your goals. And so I believe we do need to address terms like this when they're used in the workplace. And our responsibility is to communicate our strategy to our stakeholders, our employees, our stockholders, our vendors. What are the values of this organization and how do we live out those values? That's one of the best ways to address accusations of unfair treatment, whether it's from people of color, whether it's from white people, whether it's from women, whether it's from LGBT people. The best way to address inequity or feelings of doubt or feelings of confusion is to address them and educate people on why you're doing what and how this fits into the overall strategy of the organization. So a DEI hire, hey, no, this is a goal-driven hire, and part of our goal is to be diverse, equitable, and inclusive. It's simple as that. And this is why. These are the things that we do. So another part of this is, let's talk about the good, the bad, and the reality of of how people look at DEI now. Again, terms change over time. There's sometimes there's a pejoration of terms, and then there's sometimes when words become, we change words and they mean better things. We enhance what a word means, but many times the meaning of words changes over time. And so, I actually wrote a blog about bias in the workplace, and part of the reason I wrote this blog about bias in the workplace, and I'll add it to the chat, is really we have to start defining what we mean when we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion in the workplace, and how this strategy helps us get better. And so many times when we hire people in the workplace, we have bias, right? We have these blinders on, and we hire people that we are familiar with, people that we're comfortable with, and those people may all come from a very similar background, and this background may fit into a number of different buckets. I mean, imagine if I had these are my buckets of employees right here. These are my employee buckets. Maybe all of my employees come from this purple bag, and all these purple people have certain skills, right? These purple bag people have certain skills, but in order to enhance or grow my company, I need to get some of the orange bag people. Now, these bags could be different kind of bags. Maybe all of the orange people are a certain age. Maybe they're all from a certain college. Maybe they're all from a certain region. There are a number of different reasons why people are in these bags, right? And so as we want to expand, or we want to grow, we want to expand our market, we say, well, we need to get people from different places and different bags. Maybe we've exhausted and hired everyone in this bag, right? Maybe we've hired all the people in this bag, and we need to go look in different places. Doesn't mean the people in the green bags aren't qualified. We just haven't really thought about them before. So we're expanding. So now, does that mean that the green people are DEI hire? Maybe they are, but that doesn't mean that they're less qualified, doesn't mean that they're less skilled, doesn't mean that they won't add to the team. And maybe we want to expand our market and say, hey, we've got a lock on the purple and green market, but we want to get into the blue market. And so maybe we need some blue market people, whatever this group is. Now, I'm doing this with bags and little plastic bears, but these are the things we think about when we think about diversity and inclusion. Yeah, I like my little bears. These are my bears. I like my bears, my plastic bears. Okay, and so there's nothing negative about any. It's nothing negative about any of these bags or categorizations of potential employees here. But sometimes we just get locked in to what we're familiar with, or we want to expand our capability, and so we have to look elsewhere. And these bags can be different categories. So now when we hear the term DEI hire, it's really, I do believe, rooted in anti-Blackness. I mean, I will say that. I will be honest about that, because we do, I think we've, and I need to be careful how I say this. I mean, diversity is more than just black and white, right? But sometimes that's how it's framed. And even this one term, someone says DEI is deport every illegal. And so there's certain groups that I think that we have such a strong reaction to when they're hired, to say, hey, they have to be unqualified. These people can't be unqualified. Now, this is not you. What I'm saying is that some people in society take this reactive view. But as we think about a diverse workforce, we want to think about all types of identity factors. We want to think about education. We want to think about age. We want to think about geographical location. There are so many things that we can consider to make our workplace better. And so diversity, of course, does not mean black. It does not mean women. It does not mean LGBTQ. Diversity just means different. We want to hire different people with different skills, from different backgrounds, to enhance the work that we do. And our job as leaders is to communicate why we are hiring these people. What difference do they make? What skills do they bring? That's the way that we want to talk about these things. This person brings this skill. This person allows us to expand our recruiting pool. This person allows us to tap into new markets. This person helps us to erase a blind spot that we've had. This person gives us an additional potential in this area. We need to communicate these things so that DEI doesn't just become this negative term that's just rooted in racial polarization. And two, again, we think about the intersections of people with other identity factors and women of color, how this may affect them, people with different sexual orientation. All of these things come about to play, but a lot of the garbage that you see online about this and some of the political rhetoric is rooted in just this racial polarization, and I really hate that. So check out the blog I have, but there are a number of things that we can do to communicate why people are hired so they won't be termed as a negative DEI hire. Don't make DEI a negative in your workplace. Make it a positive, because this is going to help us achieve our goals. But some of the things that we can do is talking about the additive contributions of team members. How does this person help us be better? Why are we hiring this person? What are their skills? What are their qualifications? I happen to be the first I was the first Black executive director of the Mennonite Church. It's a long story. I won't bore you with those details. But I was the first Black person. Was I a DEI hire? Of course not. Now, some people may think that because I was the first leader of a predominantly white institution, but I had been in the organization for a couple of decades before I moved to the top position. I worked in a number of different key roles and had probably the most experience of any of the candidates that were hired. And so you can look at me and say, hey, because he's Black, he was a DEI hire. He's only one of the few, so they put him in this role as a token. Or you can say, hey, look at his experience. Look at his pedigree. Look at all the things that he's done over 2 decades of work to move into this position, including working as the assistant. So the number 2 position, I was in the number 2 position for a number of years and handled one of the more significant financial programs that the organization had run for a number of years. So I had a lot of authority, a lot of experience, and a lot of knowledge in the organization. But just from the outside, you can say, oh, Glenn was a DEI hire because he's Black. And that's what happens a lot of times. And so we have to do a better job of letting people know about the backgrounds of the folks that we hire. We have to have higher standards. We do. And sometimes that means we have to look in different places to get well-qualified people. So my challenge for you today, check out the blog, but I challenge you to review your current hiring practices and workplace culture. Are you truly embedding diversity, equity, inclusion into the DNA of your organization? Or is there room for improvement? Set one actionable goal this week to enhance your diversity, equity, inclusion efforts. But let's not forget the strength and perseverance that it takes to lead with empathy and inclusivity. Better leaders get better results. So to every one of you leading the charge for a more supportive and engaging workplace, I leave you with this. Stay bold, stay inspired, and remember that your actions today shape the culture of tomorrow. My name is Glen Guyton. You have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.